Chapter 3 The Girls Meet Their Idol. Katie and Joanne found themselves looking down at the handsome face of Barry Nichols. He was sitting in an armchair with a kitten on his lap and wearing an open-necked sports shirt and jeans. His fair hair was tousled and he was grinning widely, showing a set of perfect white teeth. People were bustling around him, talking, laughing, and carrying equipment. Someone brought some clothes in a hanger, expensive-looking casual trousers, and a loose-fitting shirt in shades of grayish blue and white. Were they for the concert? "Lay them down over there, Martin," called Barry to the dark young man who was carrying them. "I'll put them on after I've chatted to my two guests here." "Martin," shouted Pete Marshall, "bring a couple of chairs over, will you?" The young man tutted, laid down the star's clothing, and carried two hardback chairs across to the girls. "Well, Pete," smiled Barry Nichols, "isn't it time you introduced me?" Pete leaned over to the girls. "Which of you is Katie Millwood?" Katie's mind was in a whirl. She pinched herself to make sure that she was not dreaming. "I am," she said meekly. "Congratulations," Pete went on. "You certainly showed that you know all there is to know about Barry and his music." "Thank you," murmured Katie. This is my friend Joanne Long." "Pleased to meet you, Joanne. And this, as if you didn't know, is Barry Nichols." Barry stood up, still holding the kitten, and shook hands solemnly with his two weak-kneed fans. Joanne peered at Katie, hoping that she did not feel as faint as she herself did. "Sit down and relax, girls," smiled Barry. "Now, what shall we talk about?" Katie spoke first. Joanne knew she would. Just as well that Katie's never lost for words, she thought, because I can't think of a single word to say. We are so happy to meet you," stammered Katie. "We are great fans of yours. I'm a member of your fan club, and so is Joanne. We were trying to get tickets for tonight through the fan club, but we heard that there was a tremendous rush for them." "Yes, I believe it was a sellout weeks ago," said Barry. "We would have applied even earlier, but we've been so busy lately, doing exams." "Oh, shut up," Katie said to herself. "Barry doesn't want to hear about boring exams." "I am very glad to see that you both made it here." Barry coughed and put his hand to his throat. "I'm suffering from a touch of laryngitis and a sore throat." He patted his throat again. "I do hope you'll enjoy tonight's concert." "Oh, we will," piped up Joanne, deciding that it was time she spoke. "It's a shame about your throat. Will you be singing all your numbers?" "Most of them. Which are your favorites?" "All of them," cried Joanne immediately. "Your album No Work Today is my special favorite," said Katie. "Every track seems to have a special meaning for me." "She's not kidding," confirmed Joanne. "She plays it all the time." "That's fine by me," grinned Barry. "You see," said Joanne, "Katie has a very good taste in music." "I'm flattered," said the rock star. "She's even written songs herself and she sings them too." "Be quiet, Joanne," snapped an embarrassed Katie. "Hey, that's very interesting." Barry leaned forward in his chair. "It's nothing at all." Katie was blushing now. "Just a hobby. I've never sung in public or anything like that." "But she has a fantastic voice all the same." Joanne was intent on pushing forward Katie's talent. "I've not. Please shut up, Joanne." Katie then tried to change the subject by asking, "Do you like cats, Barry?" "I love them." "Oh, that's nice," answered Katie with a dry little smile. Joanne shot her friend a quick glance. Was she imagining things, or did Katie look slightly puzzled and dismal? Not at all how Joanne would have expected her to be. Katie was usually so vivacious and talkative. Joanne was surprised to see her so quiet, even allowing for nervous excitement. Meeting Barry Nichols must have a tremendous effect on her, pondered Joanne. She's practically dumbstruck. Still, she must be bubbling with happiness inside. Suddenly Barry stood up and, holding out his hand, said, "Sorry, girls, but I must get ready now. It's been lovely meeting you." He shook hands with each of them. "It's been lovely meeting you," said Joanne. "Yes," agreed Katie in a very low voice. "It's been wonderful." Barry then snapped his fingers flamboyantly and called, "Martin, have you got those clothes ready?" The dark-haired young man reappeared, and the girls were once again aware of people bustling and rushing around the place. "Are all these people your staff?" asked Katie. "Some of them are, and some are members of my backing group. Martin's my assistant." "Slave, you mean?" exclaimed Martin with a laugh. "And Johnny, my manager, should be around somewhere. I need plenty of people to protect me from over-enthusiastic fans and troublemakers," he continued, pointing towards a group of burly-looking men. "Oh, and that's Susie," he added, pointing to a small, neat young woman whose heavy makeup did little to disguise her pinched, unhappy expression. Katie recalled from her extensive reading about Barry Nichols that he was blessed with an extremely loyal and efficient secretary. He couldn't remember the person's name, but was sure it wasn't Susie. However, as Susie seemed to be organizing things in a brisk and businesslike manner, sending others off in different directions with orders to do this or get that, Katie asked, "Is she your secretary?" No, but she's doubling as one at the moment." "You do have a permanent secretary, though, don't you?" pressed Katie. "I did, but not anymore." Joanne was greatly puzzled by all this. Why on earth was Katie questioning Barry about his staff? It seemed rude and irrelevant. What did it matter to Katie whether or not he had a secretary? "I think it's presentation time," said Pete Marshall. "Gee, I nearly forgot," exclaimed Barry. "Got the flowers, Martin?" Martin walked across to a small table, picked up a beautiful bouquet, and passed it to Barry. The rock star then stood up politely and, smelling the blooms, handed them to Katie. "For me?" she gasped. "Thank you." "There's something else." Barry picked up a laden carrier bag from the side of his chair and gave it to Joanne. "A complete autographed set of my LPs to share between you." "Wowee! Thanks very much," cried Joanne. "Aren't we lucky, Katie?" Yes," her friend answered in a somewhat sardonic tone, thought Joanne. Pete Marshall stopped preening himself in a mirror and joined in the proceedings. He produced 2 more carrier bags and gave one each to Katie and Joanne. "Here are a few special treats from Radio Southtown," he announced importantly, as if he were dishing out gold bars, "some stickers, badges, and T-shirts." "Great!" shouted Joanne, looking curiously at Katie's thin smile of thanks. "Enjoy the show, girls," said Barry. He pecked each of them on the cheek and sat down at his dressing table. "I gotta change now." Pete Marshall took the girls through the labyrinth of backstage passages and escorted them to the front row of the auditorium. They felt self-conscious to be in the company of the disc jockey who waved and smiled at anyone who appeared to recognize him. "Like a mint?" Joanne offered Katie a bag of sweets when they were finally settled in their seats. "Thanks." Katie sucked her mint in silence. Joanne observed her anxiously. Katie seemed to be lost in thought. Whatever was the matter with her? "Don't you think the seats are lovely and comfortable, Katie?" she asked. "I've never been in the front row before. Whenever we come to the panto, we always take cheaper seats." "I've never been to the pantomime since I was 7, was Katie's reply. "Well, when you have 2 younger brothers and 2 younger sisters, you do tend to get dragged along with the rest." "I expect you do." Katie had always envied Joanne's large family. It was often too quiet and peaceful in her own home, with just her mother for company. Never the noise and bustle of Joanne's tribe. But Joanne frequently complained that she could not find anywhere to do her homework in peace, and when she wanted to watch a special program on television, there was usually another member of the family trying to change the channels. Joanne was still talking. "Everyone at home is really jealous of me coming here with you, you know. Everyone at school, too." "Especially Amanda Williams," agreed Katie. "Yes, and she'll be green with envy when we tell her that Barry kissed us and gave us flowers and things. She's so spiteful. Did you know that she was hoping we'd catch flu or something and not be able to come here tonight? I couldn't believe it when the other girls told me. How can anyone be so horrid?" "You should feel sorry for her," was Katie's reply. "She's pathetic." The theater was now filling up fast. Excited Barry Nichols fans were talking loudly and giggling as they took their places. Joanne could hardly keep still. Her pretty red hair swung about her head, swiveled from side to side, watching new arrivals. Her eyes were wide with wonder and her generous mouth gaped open. But Katie remained calm and still, with an almost blank expression on her face. Won't be long now, Katie. Oh, isn't it all fantastic? What did you think of Barry? Wasn't he charming when he spoke? I think I'm now a bigger fan of his than you are. Before Katie could reply, the music started up. The curtain rose and the show had begun. Sure enough, Barry was wearing the clothes the girls had seen in the room a short time before. The star strolled coolly and elegantly across the stage as his backing group played his best-known song, Dancing Man. He picked up the microphone and began to sing, the husky, powerful voice vibrating throughout the building. After finishing the first number to wild applause, he greeted his fans. "Hi there, everyone. Tonight I have a sore throat, I'm afraid," he said. "So I hope you'll forgive me for being a little below par." There were cries of reassurance and sympathy from the excited audience. The next song is specially dedicated to two gorgeous young ladies sitting somewhere in the front row. Katie, Joanne, where are you? The spotlight searched out the two dazed girls. Joanne felt herself blushing. Katie merely smiled. Katie and her friend Joanne are my personal guests tonight. They're here because Katie won a Radio Southtown competition answering questions about me. I better watch my step. She probably knows more about me than I know myself. The audience rocked with laughter and gave the girls a round of applause. Barry then went into his second song, a fast rock number, during which he also played guitar. At the end of this, he bowed and accepted another long ovation. As he stood there, he coughed repeatedly and kept putting his hand to his throat. As the clapping died down, the curtain fell. The mood was high. Everyone was enjoying the performance immensely. Everyone except for Katie. At least, that was the way it looked to Joanne. The curtain remained down. As the minutes ticked by, whispers started in the audience. "It's very early for an intermission," Joanne heard someone say. "What's happening?" said another voice. Then a somber-looking man walked on stage and stood at the microphone. "It's the manager," whispered Joanne. "Ladies and gentlemen," said the manager of the theater, "I regret to have to inform you all that the Barry Nichols concert must now come to a close." Through the gasps and groans of disappointment, he continued. Barry and the theater management extend their deepest sympathies, but as you may have gathered, Barry is not feeling at all well. After much consideration, he has decided that to go ahead would put too much of a strain on his voice. He has a grueling nationwide tour to complete, and so does not want to put future engagements in jeopardy, so disappointing even more of his loyal fans. Again, let me say how sorry we all are, especially Barry. If you would care to leave your names, addresses, and ticket stubs at the booking office as you leave the theater, I will make sure that your money will be refunded as soon as possible. At first, most of the audience stayed in their seats as if they did not really believe their ears. Then, with sighs of dismay, the fans gradually started to drift towards the exits. Joanne, although disappointed herself, was concerned about Katie. This was typical of Joanne. Her kind and generous nature meant she was always putting her feelings of others before her own. However, to Joanne's surprise, Katie did not seem unduly perturbed. "We might as well leave too," was all she said in a matter-of-fact way, and then she started collecting everything together. The two pals joined the trail of unhappy people shuffling along the rows. "Mustn't forget to leave our names and addresses," they heard one girl say. "I want my money back," wailed another. "At least that's something we don't have to worry about," smiled Joanne. "We did get it for nothing." "Just as well in the circumstances," replied Katie wryly. "I'd have hated to pay in advance for this fiasco." Joanne was shocked to hear Katie talking like this, as she was puzzled about her general behavior since she had met Barry. She had heard it said that one has worshipped a famous person from afar, meeting them in flesh can be a real letdown. That must have happened to Katie, thought Joanne. Now she's met Barry, she doesn't like him. When the girls finally reached the foyer, They had to fight their way through the long queue which had formed at the box office. Many people were impatient and tempers were frayed. The manager appeared, looking very flustered, at the foot of the balcony staircase and announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't wish to wait tonight, please write in to us, giving all relevant details, and we'll gladly refund your money." At that moment he noticed the girls and he smiled weakly, obviously embarrassed. He stepped across the floor to them. "Hello, ladies. I'm terribly sorry that this had to happen. It's not my fault, you understand." "Of course it's not," Katie reassured him. "We know that." "And we did enjoy the concert," soothed Joanne. "Didn't we, Katie?" "Yes, what we saw of it." The manager coughed nervously and seemed relieved when a young man joined him and said, "They're leaving now." "Right. I'll be there in a minute." The manager turned back to the girls. "All right, for some people," he continued, "Barry Nichols and his entourage are off to the poshest hotel in town. And here's me, left to face the music and explain this mess to everyone. I don't know how some people get off so lightly. Well, goodbye, girls." He moved towards his office. "Bye," chorused Katie and Joanne. Once outside, they stood on the pavement, looking lost. "Perhaps we should have phoned your mom," said Joanne. "There's no need," answered Katie. "It's so early we may as well catch the bus home. It's still light and Mom won't be setting out for ages yet." "Good idea," agreed Joanne. "Oh, Katie, isn't it an awful shame that Barry couldn't carry on? He was so nice and so friendly to us. Are you very upset?" "No, not at all," was her friend's peculiar reply. "But Katie, I don't understand. Don't you like Barry any more?" "Yes, I do," said Katie grimly. "But the person we saw tonight was not Barry Nichols." End of chapter 3.